When I first heard the term joystick drift, I thought that it meant that the joystick itself was acting as though the gamepad was being moved constantly. But that's not really what it is. It actually refers to the effect of how the joystick, when released, keeps you moving in the game, drifting around. And it's pretty easy to see why that would be the case with this joystick. This little red dot here on the screen that's moving is a representation of where the joystick is reporting its position for the, in this case, Windows, but this is obviously an Xbox controller, so, your game machine. And in this particular case, it's reporting that the joystick is up 40% of the way, and it's over to the right, somewhere between 13 and 14%. So you can see the numbers are not super consistent. As you toggle them around, you get different sorts of values. So one thing that's interesting to note here is that when the drift is really bad, you can actually get numbers that limit the range that you can. So this minus 40% means that it's very easy to get up to the top of the range, but if we go down, we don't actually make it all the way. Here we only make it to about 78%. The effect is not as extreme in the other direction because it's closer to the center, so I can't quite make it all the way to minus 100%. I can definitely make it all the way to plus 100% though. So this you probably wouldn't notice. This you might notice. So the question is, can we fix this as a person who has confidence doing soldering and stuff like that? It seems possible because all that this joystick is a potentiometer, and we might be able to actually just recenter the joystick by modifying the outputs of the potentiometer. The other option obviously is to replace the potentiometer, but that's tricky because then you have to source a good potentiometer. Now, interestingly enough, this other joystick is working much better. Even though it's not centering perfectly, you would never experience any drift problems with these sorts of numbers because every joystick actually has a difficulty giving a consistent value when the joystick is released. And you can sort of see how that works here because as we play around with it, we get actually different numbers when we let go of it. And that's just because springs, which are what are inside this thing, don't have the same impact on the joystick position depending on how hard they're compressed. If they're compressed just a little bit, they don't push very hard, and so it doesn't come back as far. But if we're pushed all the way and let go, then we actually overshoot a little bit, and then we have to rely on the joystick bouncing back a little bit. All video game controllers are going to have a region around the neutral point where they just pretend that the joystick is neutral. And often this number is at least 10%, so as long as your neutral state is within 10% of the center, you're fine. That's even for like super high precision games, but many games will use a much larger number, like 20%. So now we're going to take this thing apart and see if we can fix this just by modifying the pot. And a fix would mean that when we release the joystick, it gets pulled down to the center, and also that we still have our full range.